Hello everyone, welcome to the Melbourne Law Masters presentation. My name is Paul, I'm from Melbourne Law School, and today we were talking just briefly about the Melbourne Law Masters program. But before I start that, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country, as we always do here at University of Melbourne. We acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Wurundjeri people who have been custodians of this land for thousands of years, and acknowledge and pay respects to their elders past and present. So once again, welcome to the presentation today. Today, I'm joined by my colleague Amelia, who is working our chat function. So as you can sort of see on your screen, there is a chat function where you can actually put your questions into the chat room, and Amelia is there on the back end to actually answer those questions. We will have some time at the end to take some questions, some very general based questions. Now, if you have any very specific questions around eligibility to our master's programs, and they are quite a personal one, Amelia will be putting in a link to an inquiry submission form where you can put that inquiry in there, and then at a later date, we can follow that up for you and answer your question directly if it's very specific. So without any further ado, I will continue with this presentation. So just to start off in terms of Melbourne Law School, just to get sort of set the agenda or set the mood, so to speak. Melbourne Law School is #1 law school in Australia, 10th in the world according to the QS ratings, and #1 law school in Australia and 12th in the world according to Times Higher Education World University Rankings by discipline. So as a law school, we are a very sort of a great law school. We're a small law school, but a very sort of strong law school in terms of its reputation. The University of Melbourne also is a #1 university in Australia and is 31st in the world, according to Times Higher Ed, and #1 university in Australia and 41 in the world for the rank of world universities. So that just kind of gives you an idea of where we sort of sit in the world and basically the reputation of the Melbourne Law School. So let's go through the Melbourne Law Masters program. So basically, I'm going to talk a bit about the top program features. So the really big one, the really big key feature of the program is there are over 160 subjects to choose from across 26 specialisations. We have one of the largest sort of subject availability for students, and it crosses over 26 very different diverse specialisations, which I'll cover later on in the presentation. The subjects are offered in a flexible and intensive sort of way in our teaching. We teach intensively over 5 days, and which gives students a chance to really immerse themselves into the content. And it's also really good for those full-time workers. So you come in for those 5 particular days, you will do the content. You come in on a Monday, you usually finish up on a Friday, you immerse yourself into that program. And the great thing about it is once you do finish on that Friday, the next Monday, you go back to work and you can put into practice what you actually have learned. There are small classes, which is another great feature. We have a maximum of 30 per class as well. We don't go any larger than that number. We have a strong international focus and international diversity in classroom. We have students from over 40 different countries around the world. And not only that, we have international as well as Australian academics and legal practitioners that usually come in from not only around Australia, but around the world, and from universities such as New York University, Oxford, and UCLA, just to name a few, as you can sort of see on the screen there. So we're a very sort of outlooking university in terms of a law school especially. Now, I mentioned those really diverse, those big specialist legal areas, and these are just some of our legal specialist areas that we have on here. So everything from construction, Asian banking, through to sports law, taxation law, human rights, and health and medical law. So they're the different types of specialisations we have. We have a very broad base of specialisations there that we have experts teaching across all those particular areas. Now, the courses that we have available, when we usually refer to the Melbourne Law Masters program, it's usually a suite of programs that we do offer. So for us, with the Melbourne Law Masters programs, there are these type of options available for you. So the first one is our Masters of Law, or our LLM program. We also have a specialist master's degree, so that's where we also have those 26 different specialist programs to choose from. We also have graduate diplomas, specialist certificates, And you can always do single subject study. If you just want to come in to perhaps maybe just do one subject that you're particularly interested in, just to upskill, you can actually do that as well. And I'll go through in a minute the difference between our LLM program and our Specialist Masters program as well. And this is where we're going to sort of come to this bit here. A lot of students ask us why. What is the difference between a Master of Laws and LLM and Specialist Master's degrees? Now, what I'll do is I'll go through two of them and I'll sort of point out the key differences for both. Now, the LLM program is only offered to law graduates, okay? So you must have a law qualification to qualify for the LLM program. With the LLM program, you can choose subjects from across all those specializations that were on the page previously. So across all these, as doing an LLM program, you can actually go in and do subjects across all these particular specializations. So you can choose 1 or 5 or 2 from one particular one, or perhaps do a whole range of those 8 subjects in one particular specialization. Now, with the Masters of Laws, the qualification post-nominal is an LLM, and that's quite important, particularly for those students who want that post-nominal, that LLM post-nominal. So it is probably the higher qualification that most law graduates will actually study or want to obtain it in their career. Now, with Specialist Master's degrees, they're a little bit different, the same, but they're also a little bit different in their structure and availability to certain students. So the first one is with our Specialist Master's degrees, they're available to both law and non-law graduates, okay? Whereas the Masters of Law is strictly, or the LLM is made strictly for law graduates, the Specialist Master's degrees are available to both law and non-law graduates. The course or specialist degree programs are structured. So they have specific subject selection that you need to do based on the area of interest or the specialization you're doing. Whereas the LLM previously, you could choose whatever subjects you want. With the specialist master's degrees, they are pretty much set out for you. So you must sort of follow that specific subject selection. The post-nominal is not an LLM, as I sort of mentioned. Instead, the post-nominal, it will be something like a Master of Construction Law, Master of Tax, or Master of Environmental Law. It is a master of that particular specialisation. So that's another thing that I really want to point out, that the post-nominal is not an LLM for that. It is a Masters of Tax or Masters of Construction Law, what have you as well. So they're the sort of the key main differences between the two programs. Again, you're still doing the same lot of subjects as everyone else. You are with lawyers and non-lawyers in those particular subjects, but depending on what the qualification you are doing, it will be available for lawyers, and in the case of specialist master's degrees, it is available for non-lawyers as well. So in terms of subject timing and format, this is one of the questions we get asked a lot, especially for 2021. So the Melbourne Law Masters program has been mainly designed around working professionals, and subjects are offered mainly from February to December of each year. Now, most or the majority of Melbourne Law Masters subjects are available online this year. So this year we have made an effort to put a majority of our Masters subjects online for 2021. For obvious reasons, with the whole COVID situation, that's the way we are sort of planning that. Now, after 2021, when the COVID scenario kind of tones down a little bit, so hopefully, we will sort of re-look at the way the subjects are offered, and we may actually go back and look at whether or not we continue, I guess, sort of offering certain subjects online, or whether or not we revert back to the way that we've taught them previously. So, but those decisions will be made towards the end of this year. And so, so basically, just be aware that if you go in with with the pretense of doing everything online for the remainder of all your for your master's degree, certain subjects may in 2022 not be available online. If they were offered this year, they may not be necessarily offered next year, because, you know, as we sort of move away with the whole COVID thing, we will assess all that situation there as well. Now let's talk entry requirements, because that's one of the big sort of, I guess the other lot of questions that we get asked, specifically around the specialist degrees and the LLM program and the eligibility for it. Now, for the Master of Laws or the LLM program, applicants must hold a degree in law. Now, it could be an LLB, a JD or equivalent, and basically a degree that's leading them to admission to practice on a standard or equivalent, okay? The other way that you can enter an LLM program is absolutely holding a law degree, LLB, JD or equivalent, leading to admission to practice, and with 2 years document relevant professional experience. And that professional, I guess the emphasis is on relevant professional experience as well. With the specialist master's degrees, there's a few options that students can, or a few entrance requirement criteria that you can sort of abide by in this case. Now, the big one is applicants must have a degree in law, LLB equivalent into admission practice on a standard or equivalent. The other one is a degree in law, LLB, again, leading to practice with, again, 2 years documented relevant work experience. Now, the other way, because our specialist degrees are also offered to students who come or professionals that come from a non-law background, students can have an undergraduate degree in a relevant discipline and 2 years of documented relevant professional experience. Or they can have an undergraduate degree in relevant discipline and successful completion of 4 subjects in a related graduate diploma and 1 year of document relevant professional experience. So mainly those students who come across our specialist degrees who come from a non-law background usually have an undergraduate degree in something and at least 2 years of documented relevant work experience. So for example, when we sort of talk about relevant work experience, you could be in the case of, say, perhaps health and medical law, which is quite a popular degree at the moment. We have, we have doctors, dentists, public health professionals. They are sort of working in that health and medical area, and they need to sort of obtain or need to be exposed to, or are continuously exposed to that law element in their work. So the work experience or the professional experience must sort of relate to the area of law that they're kind of wanting to go into. So, for example, if you were a construction professional, like an architect, and you wanted to apply for the health and medical law degree, and you had 2 years of construction sort of experience of working in that professional level, that work experience wouldn't necessarily be relevant to the qualification. So just bear that in mind. The emphasis is on relevant professional experience. Now, there's specialist graduate diplomas. We also offer graduate diplomas as well as our master's programs. And the admission requirements is a little bit different, as you can sort of see here. Usually, applicants must have completed a law degree, LLB equivalent, on a standard leading to admission, or a degree in law with at least 1 year documented work experience. And in some cases, again, for those non-lawyers, an undergraduate degree in relevant discipline and at least 1 year of documented relevant professional work experience. And again, the emphasis here is on relevant work experience as well. Now, not only do we offer that whole master's and graduate diploma type sort of portfolio in the Melbourne Law Masters, we do subject study, and this is a really good sort of option for, I guess, for students who really want to sort of just sort of come in and kind of acquire some in-depth understanding of a particular development in law around their particular legal interest area. So single subject study is available to law and non-law graduates. And it's a great way, like we sort of mentioned, it's like a really good professional development type of tool that you can use. Now, you can do it with assessment or without assessment. So you can just come in for those 5 days, or do that intensive, and then just pick up those skills, and you can then just go off and then continue on working and just take that on as more of a professional development type activity. However, if you did want to actually then probably bank this to maybe go on and do a master's and want to have that particular subject accredited to the master's diploma that you decide to, say, take on later on, you must complete this subject with assessment. Okay, so just bear that in mind. But the single subject study is a great way to maybe sort of test the waters, see how you go on with the whole law experience, especially for those students who come from a non-legal area and they're just not too sure about if they can manage a subject in law at a postgraduate level. This is a great way to sort of try that out and see how you go. Okay. Now, the next subject area I'll talk about is the whole fee scenario. So the fees are sort of broken up. The 2021 fees are set as they are, and that is this for domestic as well as international students. And we've broken up into our master's, graduate diploma, certificate, and single subject assessed and non-assessed. You can sort of see the non-assessed is the cheapest way to go, but just remember, non-assessed subjects can't be credited to your master's degree, graduate diploma, or specialist certificate. You must do the assessed version of it to be accredited. So that just gives you an idea of the types of the fees for those particular qualifications. And just bear in mind, our master's degrees are about 8 subjects. So they're not usually, a lot of universities have 12 subjects, ours is 8. So just bear that in mind too. Now, in terms of applying, so once you've sort of gone through, you've had a look at the program, you've looked at what's available for you in terms in our Melbourne Law Masters program, you've decided to sort of take that on, you want to do your master's or your graduate diploma, what have you, how do you go about applying? So basically, applicants are, with our Melbourne Law Masters program, applications are accepted throughout the year and they are all submitted online, okay? So if you decide that, for example, that, you know, maybe quarter way through the year, you decide that you want to start the Masters, you can put that application whenever you want. So they accepted throughout the year. So you don't have to wait for a specific time to actually begin an application and lodge it. The big thing with the submitting application, we ask that you really check those entrance requirements and make sure you are eligible for the course that you're applying for. So for example, if you are applying for the LLM program where you need to have be a legal graduate or have some form of legal qualification, make sure that you are a qualified lawyer and you have practice in law or what have you. So and things like the entrance requirements, again, just double check and see that when we do refer to relevant work experience or relevant professional experience, it does have to be relevant. If you're not sure, absolutely drop us a line and, you know, submit an inquiry, and we can sort of, you know, if we kind of, you know, you can perhaps even give us a call in and we can sort of have a chat to sort of see if that's relevant, or give you some sort of guidelines around that sort of thing as well. We ask for obtain an original certified copy of your completed academic record. And we also ask for a CV as well. Now, this is particularly important, especially for students entering with professional experience. We just want to sort of see that you, what your professional experience is and how long you've been working for on that and what have you. So with the CV, we don't really want you to put in like tens of thousands of pages on your CV. A nice, concise, complete, detailed CV is what we sort of ask for. Enough just to sort of see that we have a snapshot and we can substantiate your professional experience. Once we receive your application, it usually takes us about 4 to 6 weeks to process. And so by the time you submit your completed application, so once you have everything in there and there's no outstanding documentation that we are waiting for, it usually takes 4 to 6 weeks for the central team and our law team to sort of process that application and look through everything. Now, in terms of applying for domestic students, so semester 1 2021, which begins in February, applications close technically tomorrow. But that said, if you were to put an application in, you know, there would be some sort of, you know, we're not going to be too, you know, tough on that. We are quite lenient on that if it comes in after a few days after the deadline, the 21st of January. But you can, like I was saying, you can put your application whenever you want, but these are sort of the guidelines that we sort of put in place here. In terms of semester 2, 2021, which the semester starts in July, 17th of June 2021 is when the applications close. But just bear in mind that, you know, depending on when you're, you know, there are other intakes throughout the year, depending on when your first subject you wish to undertake is available. Because our subjects are offered throughout the year, you can actually start pretty much 3/4 through the year if the subject you want to do is, and you're just about to study, you begin your study and it's available in 3/4 through the year, you can start then. So because we spread our subjects out throughout the year, you can be in the position where you do start not necessarily in January or in February or July. So just bear that in mind too. So if you want to start and apply for a Melbourne Law Masters program, especially if you're an Australian domestic student, absolutely put an application in whenever you are ready, and we can then sort of work out when the next available subject is, and you can start basically then. Now, as you can see on the screen here, we've got our first lot of subjects start in these type of intake dates. So we've got the spring, summer, and autumn, winter semesters or commencements, and you can sort of see that the timing of them then. So just to give you an idea. Now, with our international students, there are 2 intakes each year for international students. The semester 1, 2021 February intake, the one that's just coming in now, that is actually closed. It closes in October of last year. However, 2021, if you do wish to study in 2021 semester 2, the 30th of April is the closing date. And again, for those international friends overseas that perhaps maybe want to study in 2022, semester 1, usually application closing dates for semester 1, 2022. So for the following year, if you really want to come here and start at the beginning of the year, that application date usually closes around the 31st of October. So just bear that in mind too. So that kind of brings us to the end of this particular presentation, this overview on the Melbourne Law Masters program. Now, we have our website that you can really sort of go in there and really unpick each of the programs. You can actually see what particular subjects you'll be studying. You can really get into a more of a granular level once you sort of click in there and investigate further. So the best place to sort of start, I guess, for a lot of students is to sort of visit that website and really start exploring those particular programs that we have. Because like I said, there's a very diverse range of programs there, and we do have a lot there on offer, particularly in subject availability of over 160 subjects. So it's a good place to sort of have a look and sort of start your exploration, I guess, when you get a chance to. As I sort of mentioned, Amelia will put that the individual inquiry link into our chat function down the bottom there. So if you have some very specific questions that are a little bit more specific to your needs, for example, like, I have this much work experience, is that enough to get into this particular program? Or you have something that's a little bit more of a personal nature and all that, please sort of click on that inquiry submission link there and put that question in there, and our team will have a look at that, and we'll be able to get back to you perhaps through an email, or if you request a phone call, a telephone conversation, we can absolutely do that as well. So bear in mind with that. And I'm just sort of looking to see if there's any questions in the chat room at the moment. And it doesn't look like there is.
Paul, someone's asked, so the JD is not a master degree. So if maybe just explain the difference between the two in case people...
So the question was if the JD
is not a master's degree.
No, okay. So the JD is a postgraduate qualification. So it's an equivalent to the main difference between a Melbourne JD and the Melbourne Law Masters program is the biggest difference is the Melbourne JD will qualify you to practice law in Australia and in certain jurisdictions. So the JD, it is a master's level qualification. It is a postgraduate qualification in that you need to do an undergraduate degree first to then do a JD. Now, once you do a JD, you then be able to then go on and become a lawyer and practice law in Australia and those jurisdictions. Now, with the master's program, it is very different. It's made for professionals who already have a law degree or are perhaps coming from another profession and they need to obtain, I guess, some further insights and skill up in the areas of law in a particular area of their specialisation. So, for example, if you work in construction, you're an architect, you need to understand the legal implications in the whole construction sector. So you would then kind of go on and do maybe perhaps a Masters of Construction Law. The master's programs, the specialist programs, they won't enable you to practice as a lawyer. They're not made for students who aren't lawyers to do this, to do an LLM, to do a specialist master's, and then go on and study and become law and go on and practice law. It's two very separate things. If you want to become a lawyer and want to and then go study law and become a lawyer, then you do a JD. If you want to do a master's program and just for the sake of just specialising in a particular area of law, then absolutely the master's program is for you. But that's the main difference, is JDs to become a lawyer, master's is usually obtaining further skills in law, be it for already qualified law graduates, or upskilling for obtaining some legal knowledge for those students who come from a different sector and want to sort of upskill and get some legal knowledge in their relevant sort of sector, if that makes sense.
Someone asked if CSP is available.
Yeah, that's a great question. With our master's programs, unfortunately, there are no CSP places available for our master's programs. They are a full fee course. And of course, with that, for Australian residents, as we know, there is that whole fee help that you can access if you're an Australian citizen. And I think we've got time for if there's any last questions, because I think we have to sort of finish up at 4:30 exactly. So is there any last final questions, Amelia, that have come through?
Let me just check. No, that's it.
Okay. So
yes.
As you sort of mentioned, thank you so much for your time and to tune in and hear about our Melbourne Law Masters program. As I mentioned, Amelia has put that link through, that inquiry link. If you do have a specific question around eligibility, or perhaps a little bit more, if you just want to talk to myself or Amelia down the track and maybe sort of investigate the differences of the specialisations, absolutely hit that inquiry link there and submit that inquiry, and we'll get back to you and be able to answer your question if it's quite a specific one. So thank you once again for tuning in, for taking the time to listen to me kind of give you a very sort of brief overview of the program. And like I said, if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to visit our website and then perhaps even submit an inquiry and we can sort of answer your question then as well. So thank you so much for your time, and have a safe and great 2021. Thank you.